So in this video, I would like to explain the Russian alphabet and its letters. The Russian alphabet has 33 letters, 21 of which are consonants, 10 are vowels, and 2 are pronunciation letters. While consonants and vowels are self-explanatory, pronunciation letters are letters that are not pronounced when spoken and have no direct sound. Instead, they indicate the pronunciation of a preceding consonant by making it soft or hard, and I will elaborate more on this concept in a few minutes. Let's start from the beginning. At first, we have the letter A. Then we have the letter B. Then we have the letter V, not to be confused with the English letter B, which is visually the same. Then we have the letter G, as in go. Then the letter D. Then the letter Y. Then we have the same letter, but with 2 dots over it. This letter is Yo, and it's the only letter in the Russian alphabet that will always have the same pronunciation in any word, just like its alphabetical sound. For instance, we can have the letter B pronounced like its counterpart, T, in some cases. The same thing can be applied to other letters, but not with the letter Yo. Next, we have the letter Z, as in treasure. The easiest way to remember this letter is by its appearance of looking like a beetle, and the word beetle in Russian begins with the letter itself, which is zhuk. Zhuk. Then we have the letter Z, not to be confused with the number 3. Then we have E, which resembles a backwards capital N in English. Then we have the same letter, but with a squiggle over it. This letter is I kratkoye. I kratkoye. I kratkoye translates as short E, and it's never pronounced alone and only appears in combination with a vowel. Very rarely, if ever, you will see a word start with I kratkoye. The only words that I know that start with I kratkoye are yod, meaning iodine, and yogurt, meaning yogurt. And even then, they're not native Russian words. Essentially, I kratkoye will appear at the end of words 90% of the time. Then we have the letter K. Then the letter L. Then the letter M. Then the letter N, not to be confused with the English capital H. Then the letter O. Then the letter P. The easiest way to remember this letter is through its appearance of the number pi, which in Russian starts with the same letter, P. Then we have the letter R, not to be confused with the English letter P. Then the letter S, pronounced as S. It's not C, it's S. Then the letter T. Then the letter U, pronounced U, not to be confused with the English letter Y. Visually, there's a big difference between them, especially when they're capitalized. Then we have the letter F. Then the letter Ch, which makes a throaty H type of sound, as in Bach. This letter is not to be confused with the English letter X. Then we have the letter T, as in boots. Then we have Ch, as in chat. Then we have Sha, as in shock. Then we have a slightly different variation of this letter, which is Sha. Even though you probably don't hear a difference between these 2 letters when I pronounce them, there is a big difference in terms of pitch. The letter Sha is pronounced without using your vocal cords and with your tongue rolled backwards. Sha tends to be a quickly pronounced letter, as in shot or shoe. However, the letter Sha is an extended sound created without letting your tongue touch your upper palate, as in sheep or sheet. Here is an example in Russian. Here we have the words chassis, meaning chassis, and shas, which is an informal way of saying now. Even though the words follow the same structure, there is a big difference in pronunciation. Sha in chassis is quick and short, whereas sha in shas is more extended. Chassis and shas. Chassis, shas. That's the difference between sha and sha. Near the end of the alphabet, we have this letter, tvrdy znak, which translates as a hard sign. Being a pronunciation letter, it has no direct sound in any word, but rather it indicates the pronunciation of a preceding consonant by making it hard, meaning that it can only follow a consonant. This can create different pronunciations depending on how you pronounce a word. What's interesting about the tvrdy znak is that it acts like a break in the middle of a word. It will never start a word because it's not possible to begin a word with a break. However, before the early 20th century, Tvrdy znak was placed at the end of words, but eventually the sound didn't do anything and was removed. Ever since then, you'll never see the tvrdy znak be placed at the end of a word. Extensively, tvrdy znak only follows consonants but doesn't come after vowels. Therefore, it can only be used to separate a consonant and a vowel. To be more specific, tvrdy znak can follow any consonant in Russian, but can only come before these four vowels, and I'll get to these two in a few minutes. To give you an example with letters we already know, let's take a look at this word. The way that you pronounce it is vjezd. Vjezd. This word means entrance, as in a parking lot. What makes this word unique is the fact that the tvrdy znak is placed between a consonant and a vowel, and it acts like a break in the word. If you were to remove it, the word would be pronounced vest, with one syllable. This word is incorrect, and therefore we have to place the tvrdy znak, which would make the pronunciation of the letter V hard, and create two syllables in the pronunciation. Vjezd. Vjezd. That's the function of the hard sign in Russian. Next, we have this letter, which looks like two letters, a lowercase b and I in English, but this letter has only one sound, and that is I. I is very hard to pronounce if you're not a native Russian speaker, but there are some correlations of this letter with English words. For instance, try to think of the letter I as an illustrate or ill. Also, this letter will never start a word in Russian. Straight after, we have another sign, which is the mягкий znak, which translates as the soft sign, and don't get it confused with the lowercase English b. Just like the hard sign, mягкий znak indicates the pronunciation of a preceding consonant by making it soft. Likewise, it acts like a break or like an extra syllable in a word. It can never start a word, and it follows consonants but never comes after vowels. So it's placed between consonants and vowels, specifically these four. However, what makes the mягкий znak different than the tvrdy znak is that the mягкий znak is used way more, and therefore it has more variations in which it is used. For instance, the hard sign can only be placed between consonants and vowels, and the soft sign can do the same. However, the soft sign can additionally be put between two consonants and at the end of a word after a consonant. Here we have a word where the soft sign is placed between a consonant and a vowel. I'll get to this vowel in a minute. This word is pronounced семья. Семья. This word means family. If you were to remove the soft sign, the word would be семя. Semya. This word now means seed. Just like I said about the soft sign being used more than the hard sign, this is what I meant. Here is another word where the soft sign is placed between two consonants. This word is pronounced banька. Banька. This word is a cute way of saying bath. Banька. If you were to remove the soft sign, the word would be banka. Banka. This word now means jar or can. Here's the last example where the soft sign is placed at the end of a word, after a consonant. This word is pronounced yel. Yel. This word means a spruce or fir tree. If you were to remove the soft sign, the word would be yel. Yel. This word now means masculine, I, you, or he ate. That's the power of the mягкий znak in Russian, and it's something that you just have to get a feel for. At last, here are the final three letters in the Russian alphabet. This letter is E, this letter is U, and this letter is Ya. Now that I've just covered every letter in the Russian alphabet, it doesn't mean that it's everything that you should know about it, because some linguistics would make you understand the structure of Russian a bit better. What I mean by that is the different dialects that exist when Russian-speaking people can change the sound of letters and words from their alphabetical sounds that I just went over. Just like I said in the previous video, there is a big difference between spoken, conversational, typed, and written Russian. I'm not going to cover all of these concepts because I already did so, but with linguistics that relate to specific letters and words, Russian will become more useful to understand. For instance, Russian has sound letters that are created from multiple sounds and letters. Previously in the video, I went over the letter I kratkoye, which is a consonant that can be used as a semivowel because it creates a sound that is hiddenly used in some vowels. Russian has hard and soft vowels, and the difference between them is that hard vowels have only one sound, whereas soft vowels have two sounds. If we were to break the pronunciation of the soft vowels, you'd be surprised to know that I kratkoje is placed at the beginning of the hard vowels, making new soft vowels. I and a make a ya sound, which makes the letter ya, being a soft vowel and consisting of two sounds. A fun fact about ya is that if you were to say it backwards, you would get I. Ya backwards is I, which is I in English. I backwards in English is ya, which is I in Russian. That's one way to remember this letter. Alongside yi and e put together makes ye, which makes the letter ye, being a soft consonant. Yi and o make a yo, which makes the letter yo. Yi and u make yu, which makes the letter u. Unfortunately, there is no logical combination with I kratkoje and I or I, so we can just leave it at that. Now, the reason why I brought this up is to give you a different perspective on the hardness and softness of vowels when Russian-speaking people tend to pronounce letters and words as they are. Throughout the video, I've been pronouncing tvyordый знак as it is intended in Russian, but when you listen very closely to the pronunciation, yo is pronounced as it is, softening the letter v before it, but the letter I kratkoje is almost not heard inside the word. Additionally, I've been saying I kratkoje, and I've been doing it because I'm pronouncing the way that you see it. A native Russian speaker would pronounce it as I kratkaya, because the dialect is different. Ultimately, this is the difference between softness and hardness in terms of speech, and how Russian-speaking people tend to pronounce words and letters in Russian. You can have words like dom and dень, where the letter d will sound differently because there's a difference in the hardness and softness of the vowels. O is a hard vowel, therefore d remains hard. Dom. On the other hand, ye is a soft vowel which makes a softer d sound. День. Do and de. Do, de. That's the difference, and it's the same concept with other consonants like s. Suma and semya both have the letter s, but have different sounds for s because one word has a hard vowel and the second has a soft vowel. In Russian, these letter concepts are called devocalization of consonants and vowel reduction, which I explained in the previous video. Furthermore, I'm not going to cover every letter like that because it's something that you need to get a feel for. But the same thing could be said about the hard and soft signs. Both the hard and soft signs are used to separate consonants and vowels, but only the hard sign separates a hard consonant and a vowel, and the soft sign separates a soft consonant and a vowel. Combining vowels with hard and soft consonants generates differences in softness and hardness, which I already covered. In case you're interested in learning more about this, I have a link in the description that leads to a separate site that explains this concept more. Moreover, Russian is also very expressive, which makes it not rely on consonants that consist of two or more sounds. It does have letters like tse and che, which are composed of two other letters, ultimately making one sound letter. While Russian does have letters like that, they're not emphasized as much as they are in English. English has letters like G, J, H, Q, and X, which are all composed of other consonants and sounds that Russian conceptually doesn't have. For instance, Russian doesn't have the letter X because when you pronounce X, you essentially make one letter sound out of two, using K and S, which makes a X sound. Russian simply doesn't need the system of letters because it's expressive enough. At last, you should also know that many spellings of Russian words became supported by tradition and created different sounds when the word is pronounced, but not when typed or written. For instance, Russian preserved the rules of zhi, shi, pishi через I, cha, sha, pishi через a, and chu, shu, pishi через u. Essentially, you write the sound you hear one way, but pronounce it in a different way. We can have words that visually look like they have one pronunciation, but native speakers pronounce them differently. You would want to say li ji or shi na, but the formal pronunciation is li ji or shi na. You would want to say shas or tu cha, but they're pronounced shas or tu cha. You would want to say shu ka or chu de sa, but you have to pronounce them as shu ka or chu de sa. This is something that you just have to get a feel for. Finally, the same traditional spellings also exist in words where there's a completely different letter, and in fact, I've been using one of these words in the video, which is miag-ki. It's perfectly fine to pronounce the word as you see it, because you're learning the language, and because people will still understand you. However, native Russian speakers will pronounce this word as miag-ki. Miag-ki. The reason why Russian does that is because it's simply an exception and generalization preserved from Old Russian. Between the 10th and 12th centuries, there were no differences between the pronunciation and writing of words, but over time, there have been significant changes in the sound system, and now, many words are pronounced differently from how they're written. The same concept can be applied to this word. It doesn't matter if you say bog or boch, you will still have the same meaning because the word means God. It's also the same with words like segodnya and yego, but these words are pronounced sevodnya and yevo. It doesn't matter how you say them because people will still understand you. Nonetheless, if you want to sound traditional, then you can try to pronounce them as I did. Overall, this is the Russian alphabet and its letters.